The press is always at the service of the people, ladies and gentlemen. This is CAM1 Radio, the People's Radio. 99.5 FM is the frequency, and we are tuned today to our daily press review on this particular network. For presentation, I am Charles Ekome. I am going to start immediately to kickstart the session with the municipal updates, which talks about the Ministry of Defense, which uncovers 1,312 fake certificates plus weapons in Tanzania's human elephant conflict. Can be read today on the page 8 of that particular paper, which is also out today on municipal updates. Meantime, Minister Fukalistu's Jekambos commits to boost business climate. That's Mr. Fukalistus and Celestin Tewamba, the president of JICAM, um, commit to boost business climate in the country. Meantime, Boisson Cameroon opens new bottling line at Bafusam, that is in the East region. You can read all of these stories today on municipal updates. The Guardian Post on its own part talks about the 2025 presidential elections as Honorable Ngala Gerard of the Donga Mantung Division in the restive Northwest region urges compatriots to renew trust in the President Paul Biya and drums massive voters registration, reaffirms commitment to foster peace and national unity, and also hails ongoing universal health coverage scheme, hitch-free unfolding of GCE exams in the Northwest and Southwest regions. These are some of the points which Honorable Ngala Gerard had to say about President Paul Biya's regime to foster development in the Northwest and Southwest region, respectively. Meantime, still on the Guardian Post, sizing up the Central Democratic Front 1 year on without its original president, Nijon Frundi. The Guardian Post retrospects today on the former president and deceased president. I should reiterate, Nijon Frundi, who left us 1 year ago. That's what the Guardian Post has in store for us. That story could be read today on page 5 of the daily paper Guardian Post. Southwest also has so much in store for us today as the Pulka Sowedan reinforced commitment to combat food insecurity. All of this could be read today on the Guardian Post on page 9. And in the Central region, the Guardian Post talks about police parades, ex-convicts specialized in robbing financial institutions. All of this could be read today on the Guardian Post. The Horizon is also out today on the stands and in the market for us and talks about the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, which gets observer status within the African Union. It's precisely on the page 10, and also talks SDF CPDM boasts about prowess. That's a must read story today because this story is geared towards the 2025 upcoming presidential and regional elections in Cameroon. Also, it says FDC says ready to ally with opposition candidate with 20 billion budget as Olivier Bail disappointed his ATP not embraced by colleagues. Page 4 is the page where you could read this particular story today. Observers judge and Tamben and Co Credit Union top brass as best branch of the Northwest Region as top management and workers brandishing awards. It's something which can also be read today on the Horizon newspaper rather. And champion for peace from Dikum of Akum disappears. That is another must-read story today on the Horizon newspaper, and also talks about the Careful Policy Institute, which strengthens leadership, empowers independent voices through a trio of transformative August events. Another story which could be read today on the Horizon newspaper on the page 9 to be much more specific. Volunteers Association for Peace Builders launches an office. Page 9 is where you can read the story today on the Horizon newspaper. Meantime, we talk something completely different. The Actuel is also out today on the stands and talks about Jodnelin Onanado, who happens to be the Director General of the terminal at the Port Authority in Douala. The GM says that the Douala International Seaport has been very prosperous despite being ranked at 300 feet out of 405th place by the World Bank Organization. The article also talks about Orange Cameroon's pledge to serve the public in what can be characterized as a corporate social responsibility move. Ecosante talks about the fight against tuberculosis as African states are mobilizing themselves to quench this global epidemic. Ecosante also talks health as always, but this time about the fight against malaria as parliamentarians discuss probable solutions in the ongoing parliamentary session, which is taking place in Yaoundé as we speak. That is what could be said today by Ecosante in their major lead stories. Expression Economique says the Ministry of Finance urges banks in Cameroon to transfer funds to SEDEC. Also says inflation rate has risen to 6.3% between April 2023 and April 2024 in Cameroon. And for Martin headlines with the Ipaki external sites at the Kribi International Seaport where clients can continue to edify and pay their bills and also consult their bills 24 hours on 24 and 7 days on 7 conveniently. The paper also talks about 1,312 candidates rejected by the Ministry of Defense during its latest recruitment process or procedures. Horizon is also out today and says the Ministry of Defense discredits fake applications, which is also a similar headline story with many other papers today on the Cameroonian platform. The Drapo is also out today highlighting the 1,312 fake diplomats discovered by the Ministry of Defense and also talks about the importation rates of wine, which has escalated to 14.3% as of 2023. That's the most read story today on Lodrapo because we know Cameroonians are fond of always drinking wine. The Matila paper is also in the market today and talks about the honors bestowed upon Francois Etapa, who is the senior divisional officer for Nyong and Mfumu in the center region of the country. Le Point B Hebdo highlights its paper with a financial folly at the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, as well as a Code du Parlement who talks about 6 law projects which have been deposited at the National Assembly. Plus, the fight against malaria is also on the agenda of the parliamentary session, which is already taking place this June in Yaoundé. Quotidien Realite is always out as it talks every day something completely different and says the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famindongo, announces the 6th edition of the Talent and Geniuses Seminar of the Cameroonian students, which will be taking place on the 18th of June in the country's economic capital, Douala. Still, Quotidien Reality says Paul Atanganji, who is the Minister of Territorial Administration, is working so hard and has always been a hard-working person, but has also been haunted by critics on social media regularly. Meantime, Direct Info is also out today on the stands and in the market and says 14 countries are on a conclave in Yaoundé, that the city's the country's economic political capital rather, plus 84 billion francs CFA has been invested in the littoral region by government. That is a must read story today on Direct Info, which is already out in the market today. La Meteo focuses on the collaboration between the Minister of Mines, Professor Fu Calistus, and the President of GCAM, Celestin Tawamba. That is another must read story today because they are talking about the collaboration between small and medium sized enterprises and also about the mining sector in the country. Meantime, L'Economic Quotidien talks about the 31st annual assembly of the Afroxil Bank seminar and reiterates that the economy of Cameroon has been prosperous and is at the heat of debate despite all its odds. That is a story which could be read today on L'Economic Quotidien, which is also out on the stands. The L'Info show capitalizes on the 1,312 fake diplomas discovered by the Ministry of Defense, which is also a story which has been recapitulated by most papers today in the country of Cameroon. Mutation talks higher education today and talks about government support for entrepreneurial students. Another must read story for students who are aspiring entrepreneurs, as Mutation talks about government's plan for people or students who have entrepreneurial objectives. Le Messager has the same lead story as Mutation, but focuses on a different angle, stating that junior enterprises will be at the focus of government support plans. That's what Le Messager has in store for Cameroonians today. Innovation on its own part, like many other papers, headlines with the 1,312 fake diplomats detected by the Ministry of Defense. Emergent headlines with the same lead story as Messager, but also talks something peculiar and says the city of Bafoussam, Bertoua, and Garoua have received 13 billion francs CFA by government for developmental projects. Le Jour on its own part prophesizes or talks about the professor, the Narcisse Molekombi, who is the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, and who has received the head coach of the Indomitable Lions plus his staff, and also headlines with the fake diplomas detected at the Ministry of Defense in Cameroon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we end this edition of the Daily Press Review on CAM1 Radio. I am a Comrade Charles Abane. I want to reiterate that our frequency is FM 99.5, and this is the People's Radio at your service.